Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And I could always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So check it out. Sorry about not having my mic muted at the beginning. I was a little bit scrambling, I guess, to set up the stream this morning because I've been working on this plugin, which we're going to talk about today, and then I'm still working on shows. So I've got a doc and then a vertical. They call them verticals. They're like mini dramas or micro dramas. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Sorry if there was doubling with the mic at the beginning, but I wanted to give you guys just a quick demo of what we're going to talk about before we jump into how I've built this and kind of the current status, and then how you guys can pick up a copy to try on your machine free of charge for 2 weeks, because I'm still not selling this. This is still like, I want to make sure everything's buttoned up before I start taking people's money for it. Let me go ahead and just finish my setup here real quick. It's a really cool free plugin. If you do any kind of streaming or, what else would you use this for? Is it in Dynamics? It's called Mute Omatic. This is a really useful plugin by SoundRadix, who makes Auto Align Post 2, that when you hit play, it'll mute your mic. So if you're using like a talkback, it's really nice to be able to just hit play, and then I'm going to keep talking and you'll see it's going to mute me. Fuck. That's cool. It's really useful to help keep bleed from happening, which is what I started the stream with, a bunch of bleed. And yeah, let me I'm sorry. I didn't set up my pop-out chat and all this stuff. I like to do pop-out chat for the streams so you guys can see the comments, and you guys don't need to see this, you don't need to see that. You basically need to see the plugin interface and Pro Tools in the chat. So yeah, okay, so, and speaking of testing, I will say that James also, can you drop a link to your tools that you've been working on? Because they're really interesting. James has worked on some like really useful kind of audio utilities that are great for working with stereo files and poly waves. And I think, James, don't you also have like an auto leveling, like a kind of spec? It meets loudness specs, I think. I was really interested in that. Feel free to drop a link in the chat. Yeah, and then like Simon has really put this plugin through its paces. Simon, I think you had like 20 instances. Maybe in the chat, if you can, drop your computer specs so people can kind of compare what what you've been running this on as dialogue inserts. That would be really useful. And let me see. Let me just go to our Discord. This is for members only. And this is initially where I got the first beta testers from in the plugin dev tab. So if you join the channel as a member, you get instant access to this. It's a super loosely moderated discussion board where this is great. These type of screenshots, system usage. Chase has been chasing this down on an Intel, on Ventura. And Alexander Edits has been really helpful. Alexander's been unfortunately dealing with like installation issues, which I'm pretty sure I've got nailed down to duplicates of the old version, which let's back up and talk about now the idea for this plugin and kind of the history of where it's at. So I just within the past year or so have really started looking into plugin development, tool development, because there's some tools that I use every day, and then there's some tools that don't exist that I'm really interested in building. And I've got a lot of ideas for what they will do and how they should sound. So what I've been doing is basically, instead of playing, you know, Hell Let Loose or Battlefield or doom scrolling on my phone at night, I've been coming to my studio and trying to create plugins and tools for things that I want to do that I can't currently do. So in the past 12 months, I've released 2 plugins. The first one, I can just show you these even. It's cool because you can actually see the iteration of my development. And it started with this DXB channel strip, which the interface is super ugly. I mean, let's be honest, this looks terrible. This is not good. But I've left this up. I haven't updated this because I think it's cool to see the evolution. Like this is a good sounding channel strip. And then the next thing was auto comp, and this is like probably the one up till now I'm most proud of. This is an automatic dialogue compressor. The DSP underneath the hood of these is really solid. It's something I'm proud of, but you can really see the UI kind of evolve over time. And then this is Voxium. This is what I'm working on right now. I would say this is really close, if not already in this stage where it can be released. Obviously, there's going to be, you know, some people will say like, oh, I can't, you know, install this, or that it's not doing this. And that's all kind of back end, you know, further development, troubleshooting. I've gotten some feedback on this besides the I can't install this, you know, which I feel like I've fixed the permissions issues on the installers. It's really tough supporting older machines like Intel machines because they handle things differently. So originally I was like, I'm just gonna have this for Apple Silicon because it is a modern, heavier lift for processing because it uses some really advanced DSP. So I was like, can I even support Intel machines with like an i7 or an i9? So I've got Intel installers. I've got Apple Silicon installers. You can download this on my website. It's forlow-digital.com/product/Voxium. And the more people I get testing this, the quicker I can decide if it's ready to release, you know? But so far the input I've gotten has been either I can't install it or I installed it and I can't run it on like Pro Tools 11, which is like, I'm sorry, but I can't support that far back. It's been pretty positive enough where during, you know, a beta, if basically the responses you're getting from people is, hey, this is really cool, or yeah, this works great, or it works great, but can you tweak this? Like, those are the things you want to hear. You don't want to hear, you know, this is ruining my sound, or this crashed Pro Tools, or it doesn't sound great, or it's not quite finished yet. Like, all the input I've gotten from like real re-recording mixers, guys working at a high level, has been like, oh, this is really interesting. And in fact, I got contacted by, I won't say the name of the company, but by a big plugin company that wanted me to tweak the interface and the name because the initial name I had was DX Clean and it was a little too close to a tool they had. So the owner of the company contacted me and asked me politely, you know, like, hey, maybe think about changing the name and the interface colors because it kind of looks like one of our plugins. That's a good sign. Like, this guy downloaded the demo, tried it, and was like, I need to contact this guy and ask him to, you know, change things around a bit. And I totally did. I worked with him, sent him drafts of the new UI and the name, like, hey, is this good enough? Like, are we cool? Because I don't want to cause any problems. You know, plugin developers are a really small community, and I'm not really a part of that. Like, I'm just a sound editor, that's attempting to make plugins. But I feel like if the owner of a company is contacting me saying, can you change the name of this? Like, that's a really good indicator that I've got something here that is going to, have legs. It's going to go out into the world and shake the tree a little bit. So it's already doing that. I could check and see how many test downloads I've had. It's a decent amount. I would say between probably 40 and 100 people have downloaded the demo, and I've heard back from 3 of them. So besides the Discord, which is more of like free open discussion. So yeah, so it's in a good spot. I feel like it's pretty close. We're gonna shake it down with different noise profiles and different things today. So if you guys have questions or you want to hear like very specific different types of noise, this is your chance without even downloading a demo, just to say, hey, what does it sound like with this? This is a live stream, so if you're watching this on a replay, you're not necessarily going to get that benefit, but drop a comment. You can ask me questions and I try my best to answer them. But honestly, just, help me, help yourself. Go to the link, download the demo. The way you download it is you just add the free demo to your cart. And like this, you go demo. See, license isn't even an option. I'm out of stock. I put it 0 because I don't want people paying for this yet. But just click demo, add it to your cart, go through the checkout process. You'll get to download an installer for it, and then see if it works on your machine. Try it for free first and see if it works. And if it doesn't, I've got in the user manual, I have a way to contact me, and I even made a command script that you can run on your machine that will send me all your system, what operating system you're on, what version of Pro Tools you're on, what version you have installed of Voxium, and it sends it to this. Can I show you this? Yeah, there's no weird data on here. It sends it to this, which I've got 0 responses right now. I tested this out and it totally works. So it'll send all the responses here. It sends me your email if you give it to me, which you don't have to. But this helps because then if you email me and you're like, hey, this isn't working, then I can look at this form response and be like, okay, here's what's, maybe it's breaking at the code signing stage. Maybe it's not code signed or something like that. So I tried to set this up to be really easy, to track things, because I've done product development in the past, and the biggest thing is creating processes, like not just email me and I'll write it down or I'll remember, but like actually collecting and collating data and doing decision making based on real information instead of just like, oh yeah, Jim said this didn't work on his, i3 running Pro Tools 10 HD. So, okay, that's all the kind of background of it. Yeah, let's just listen to some stuff. I think I have this set up where, yeah, so mute is on. It's going to mute my mic so you guys don't get feedback. Can I hear? I have my output. This is kind of a cool insight into how to set up a live stream through Pro Tools. So I've got a bus going to you guys, which has Voxium and a limiter. That's it. So this is Voxium. It's got this. It's got the tune window. And I can go through the UI, but first let's just listen to some examples. And then I can talk about how it's built, what it's built on, the architecture that it's built on. Feel free to ask questions. Let me see if, oh man, why can't I scroll up here? That's kind of weird. How long have you been working on the plugin? It really hasn't been that long. And something I found, and James, you can probably speak to this too. It kind of works for most creative things, which is when you have a good idea and it's probably, it has a high chance of success, things kind of flow, like they go fast. There's not a ton of like hitting your head against the wall. It really is just like a greased bearing, like things just spin smoothly and it goes. And so I haven't been working on this that long. And that's another sign that like, this is something. It's not just a little like, oh, let me try this and throw it. Like this is a real thing that I feel like is going to make an impact. So maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It hasn't been that long. And it's been pretty smooth so far, knock on wood. I mean, things can fall apart, obviously. But it's just been one of those projects where everything just like, it's like a perfect Tetris, like everything's locking into place. So yeah, it's possible as a solo developer to do things quick because you're not waiting on, well, let me wait for Bobby to get back at me with this, commit on this branch, and let me type an email, and they didn't understand the email, so now I have to call them. Now we got to FaceTime. Like, you can just pop, get it done quick. So let's listen to some examples here. And obviously ask questions. If you want me to try different types of noise, we can totally do that. I should be able to hear this. You guys can hear it. So let's start with Voxium at 0. We're going to start with just some HVAC sound. And this is a recording of my voice. If you guys also have WAV files you want to throw at me, give me a download link. I'll do it live on the stream. So let's just start with air conditioner, and then I'm going to increase this. It's one knob control unless you want to get fancy with it, and I can talk about what all these do. We'll just go through and do HVAC and then talk about it, and then go to some background walla. Cicadas. One of the rear recording mixers that tested this used it on a dock with cicadas, sent me the before and after. What a difference it made. And it's interesting the way this Voxium handles high frequencies, which is something that if you test this against other competitors on the market, the high frequencies is where you start to get breathing and S's and F's, like they don't quite come through. There's a lot of false positives. And so the algorithm that this uses preserves more of that information. Let's start with some HVAC. I'm going to play and shut up. Voxium is a real-time transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a... Okay, so that was HVAC sound. We've got some good questions here. Let me set up a cloth sound for House of Jen. We'll just call this cloth. This is one of the things I like about live streams is I can kind of pivot and steer things as we go. I'm not going to record cloth, but let me just go into Soundly and see. Oh, let's get some really good cloth sound. No. Ooh, leather. Leather would be really cool because leather is like pretty full band. Something I found out about this plugin and the algorithm it uses, which I'll just be up front. It's based on, and you can read this in the manual, it's based on Deep Filter Net. Deep Filter Net was developed a couple years ago as a kind of really for hearing aids, for people who are, they just don't, their ears aren't 100% anymore, as a way to make spoken word more present and upfront. So it's a little different from, AI plugins that regenerate, like they synthesize things. It doesn't synthesize things. It just separates the sound into two buckets, one being noise and one being dialogue. And then the control and even the advanced controls adjust how much attenuation and kind of speech protect, and the post filter, cranking this up is going to give you a much smoother result. And then the strength curve is how quickly it engages. Some of us like a linear response, and some of us want more resolution down here or up here. So the strength curve will adjust kind of where the noise reduction kicks in. Basically like the curve, whether it's logarithmic, linear, or, you can adjust it. But these defaults are a really good starting point. And honestly, you're not going to need on most things to go in to the tune. And actually, I think it was Simon who requested me leave it in there. I originally had this for the first testers, let me know what settings you're using. And Simon said, why not leave that for advanced users, which is, I think that's a great way to go. Let's listen to this on some cloth. Let me just make sure I can turn this all the way back to 0. That's pretty crunchy. Let's listen to that with the dialogue. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, so there is a little bit of bleed, because it's full range. Like if we pull this into Isotope Connect, just so we can look at the cloth, where the frequencies are on the cloth. Let's go ahead and look at this cloth. And I've been testing this in Isotope, as like spot cleaning. Maybe I just want to clean this little chunk. So this cloth is full range. It goes from, let's say 20 hertz up to, over 20K. So it's full range cloth, and it's taking, I would say 99% of it out. You do get a little bit of breathing when you crank this all the way up. And this Voxium is really meant to follow the mantra that I have in all of my training videos and courses, which is just do enough, like do enough noise reduction to make things fit, and don't nuke the noise. Don't take it all out. You can totally crank it in 100%, and it's going to do its very best. Maybe if you have some background ambience, it's fine to have some of those breathing artifacts and stuff. But I've been using this, and I find like 40 to 60% is kind of the sweet spot. Obviously, you can automate it down. You can tweak the advanced controls if you want. Totally fine to do all that. And yeah, I think, I've tested this against every competitor, even the ones that are going to be 3-4 times more expensive. And that's why I'm excited about this, because I've put this up against things that cost more. And as the, builder, I'm not going to say it sounds better, but I will say, try it, download it, try it, test it, put it head to head against things that you have on your machine that maybe were $300, $400. And if this doesn't beat it, don't buy it. Use what you've got. I'm not going to tell you to get this because, I want like money for, the time that I put into this. This is built to be a tool that does something that no other tool currently does, which is real-time noise reduction with very few artifacts. Let's go ahead and try some other noise examples here. So that was cloth. I feel like it did pretty good on cloth. Where it's really interesting is when you start adding stuff that most of the machine learning and AI noise reduction tools struggle with, which are things like Walla. Walla production, Walla, or like, let's see, indie stuff, they record in like real cafes or real store, and they don't lock it down. There's people walking around. Or unscripted stuff. They're going to go out, and just shoot things on a boardwalk or inside a store or inside a stadium. So how do you filter out the background voices? How do you filter out the background voices and bring the foreground voice more foreground without getting all those weird burbly, digital wispies in the background? So let's listen to some Walla. I'll just solo the Walla track with no reduction. So it's diffuse, it's background, there's reverb, there's movement, there's room tone. Now let's play it with the clean voice recording, and we're going to bring the reduction up slowly. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And I could always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So, all right, that was a background Walla example, like probably a cafe or something like that. We're doing this live, so I'm kind of reading the comments, and there's a question about a PC version. I'm gonna see how this sells with the Mac version first, and if it sells well enough, I will totally develop a PC version. But like, I'm doing this all myself. It takes me forever because I'm slow and I'm stupid, and I'm learning stuff as I go. So it's just it's a huge time suck, and it's got to be worth it. Simon was explaining that he's tested it on music, so I'm actually going to find some music, but I got to be careful. It can't flag a copyright violation. I think I've got some stuff on. I might have some of my old hip-hop beats. Let's see if I do. Music for YouTube vids. Is this? Ooh, that would be interesting. I think, do I have the instrumental for this? I gotta figure out where. Man, I had stuff on here. Templates, music, video, class. Man, I gotta find. Let me play back another example while I search for music. We'll do cicadas next. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And I could always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So check it out. Not perfect. I could hear the cicadas poking through on Fs and S's, but I could deal with those, 7 or 8 artifacts that come through a, 1 minute recording, and maybe it's like 20 artifacts. I would much rather reduce 99.9% of them and then go back through and clean out that buzz. I haven't heard any other plugin do that with cicadas. Usually they end up fuzzing up the high frequencies quite a bit. And, that's not great. Like, you don't want it to sound. I would much rather have the reduction dialed down. Like, let's try it at like 50%. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. Crickets. Yeah, let's try crickets. We'll kill the... Actually, I want to leave the cicadas because that's a great... There's so much stuff shot in like Atlanta and North Carolina. Sorry, Nalf, N-A-W-F, Carolina, Nalf, Carolina. That, and crickets should be purple because it's nighttime. I was doing some music. Let me finish. Let's do some. Oh, there we go. That's kind of cool. Do this whole loop here. It's a loop. I got to make sure that the loop is on the beat. Sorry. Let me just... Oh, it's taking the music out already. Let me turn it down. That ends on a clap. Ooh, it's like super slow. That's kind of cool. We'll do that. Do it on the clap. Oh, but we need to do a longer. Sure, why not? There. Tab to Transane is your friend on music edits. You can get them right on. Grab the loop, duplicate it. Let's make sure it's good. Good enough. You know, better than a galloping crossfade that the picture editors like to do. So we'll test that. But we had a request for crickets. So let me go. Do you want the nice US crickets or do you want the nasty Australian crickets? Let's do this beautiful summertime. We're camping. Maybe there's a campfire. Ooh, we could do fire too with some crackles. Let's do the music after the crickets. Here's crickets. Let me just gain stage these a little bit so they match. The cicadas were super loud. All right, here's the crickets. Voxium is a... And let's turn this... we'll turn the dialogue down so it's like, you know, on mic, but not super loud. You'll hear it start to struggle a little bit. If you don't have a good recording, it's not going to make the recording sound better. It's not synthesizing the voice. It's just taking the noise out. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, you know, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And, you know, I could always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So check it out. I brought up Pro Q3 just so you guys can see, because it's hard to tell, you know, on YouTube on a stream, like what frequencies are being preserved. And yeah, these are loud crickets, and it's at 100% done everything it can to remove them. Obviously, when the voice is lower, you know, it struggles, like it's struggling to pull out. But the crickets are like 20 dB, you know, like they're really loud, or I should say minus 20 dB. So they're super loud. And so multiple light passes, or the other thing, you know, I tell people in the dialogue editing course, more so in the mixing, the film mixing course on my website, is that doing multiple passes with different tools will almost always give you a better sounding result than doing one heavy pass with one tool. So I'm not saying like Voxium is a panacea, like it's not going to solve every problem. And it's really probably best used in concert with, you know, let's say you do an offline pass with Voxium, then you hit it with Cedar, or the other way around. Maybe you hit it with Hush or DX Revive, you know, 50%, 40%, then you have Voxium as an insert. There's so many different combinations of ingredients you can use that it's kind of, you know, the sky's the limit of how complicated or simple you want to keep it. I'm a big fan of offline processing for tools like this because Voxium it learns the noise. So it's going to do its very best on each pass to learn the noise quickly, duck it down, but on a second pass, it might take a little, you know, side detour and do a slightly different process. So using it offline frees up your CPU, but it also makes it to where the result is printed and it's consistent. You know, you've printed the result and it's not having to learn. It's not giving you maybe a slight variation on the reduction with each pass. The other thing it allows you to do, if you process it and there's something left behind, like there's a hum or there's a little artifact with a certain cricket chirp or whatever, you know, plane goes by, well, then you can deal with it in the file instead of having to try and, well, let me go in here and automate this and then go in here and automate these and take the link button off. Like, you don't have to do all that. It's printed. The audio is printed. It goes with the session. So if you go to a studio that doesn't have this, who cares? You've made audio files. This is probably we're like a little over halfway through. So let me just talk about the interface here and how it works. So Voxium has a very simple interface when you first open it up. You've got your license here, what would you guys do if you saw my license code? I don't think you'd be able, yeah, you know, you'd try it and that's okay. So you can activate your serial, you can deactivate it, you can do the 14-day demo, which is, it's this middle button that's gone now. After 14 days, it's going to be silent. It should. if I coded it right, it'll be silent. So you have to buy a license. So that's this. The other thing you've got at the top here is you click the name and you change to a dark mode UI. This is really useful for people. I think Obi requested this and a couple other people are like, yeah, that sounds good. So if you like dark mode, just click the title. That's easy. This green LED here shows you the input level. I'll just play back so you can verify that it works. Voxium is a real-time, so it's slow. It's meant to be slow. It just verifies that it's receiving signal. This is an input level. So even though I hit play and it was silent, it's because we're reducing the noise. But if you click this, you can actually get logs, which can help you troubleshoot. It can help me troubleshoot. You can see there's a bunch of idle, wake, and ramp and stuff like that. In the two most recent versions, you know, I want people to use this as an insert. So what I coded it to do is once it detects digital silence, the filter that it's using goes to sleep. So it's not polling the machine for resources. It's kind of like dynamic plugin, you know, in Pro Tools, but it's fast. Like digital silence, it turns itself off. As soon as it detects audio, it ramps back in really quickly. Like you shouldn't be able to hear it engage and disengage. But if you have any issues, you want to see what it's doing, you know, bam, you can check this out. It tells you the latency, any oversized blocks or underrun blocks, all that stuff. You can send me the log if there's any issues. So this is the top bar here. And then the main thing is this knob. You know, this is your reduction knob. At 0, one of the testers said, hey, at 0%, I can still hear it's doing something. So I tweaked the weighting a little bit. So at 0%, it's basically in bypass. The reason you'd want to do that versus using bypass is there's a built-in latency with this, which you can see here. I've got a couple plugins on here now. If I deactivate Pro Q3 and Pro Limiter, it's 960 samples of latency. That's just hard coded in because you have to have a little bit of time to learn stuff, you know, about the noise and reduce it. So at 0%, it's basically, it is bypassed. Really, the processing is doing 0 reduction. And then as you go up to 100, it does more reduction. That's it. You know, there's a user manual here. Let's make sure this works. Bam. If you click that, it brings up the user manual. It's a little book glyph. And then you've got your tune here, which is these little sliders. Let's go over what these do. The link, this is the maximum attenuation in decibels. So if you have link off, you can hard code this. You know, maybe I only want 15 decibels of reduction. Now it's not tied to this main control. But as soon as you link it, this amount, which goes from, I believe, 0 to 40, is tied to this knob. So at, you know, 50% reduction, you're going to be doing a maximum of 20 dB of attenuation. So that's this control. I like to leave it on link just because it simplifies the operation quite a bit. Speech protect, with this increased, you're going to get more of that ghosting. You can kind of hear stuff starting to poke through because it's really protecting the consonants and the Fs, the fricatives, all the kind of borderline speech things that noise reduction will tend to dull. So at 1, it's going to be letting more noise through to protect the speech. At 0, it's going to be taking more noise out, but you might hear a little more artifacty type things going on with the speech. I like to keep this maxed out most of the time. Post filter max is a kind of smoothing filter that happens after it's sent through DFN. So if you are getting artifacts, crank it up. It's going to smooth out the high frequency reduction and just make things a little more buttery. Strength curve is how quickly the reduction kicks in. And I left that in because some people like more resolution down in like the 20 to 40%. Some people might want more resolution in like the 50 to 100%. So if you crank this strength curve up, you won't really hear it until about 50%. Like this range here doesn't ramp up until you get to about 50%. At a strength curve of 2, it's basically linear, and then if you have it set to 0.20, it's going to kick in really fast, you know, to give you more resolution up top. Paul is saying the website is not giving the link access. It's possible that I need to, let me see here. It's possible. I've been doing really controlled releases of the beta to make sure, because my site got crashed because of the traffic that was being generated. So yeah, you're right. Let me put the stock back to 12. So I've been adding like 12 to 20 demo downloads per day. And so I'm going to save that. So in order to get the demo, you'll have to go to shop, and you'll have to go to plugins, and you'll have to go to Voxium, and you'll have to click demo and add to cart and actually check out. It's going to cost you $0. But this is, to me, the best way to keep the demo sort of controlled. Like if I need to shut it back down because my website's getting overrun, I can just set the stock to 0. Let me just refresh this really quick. It says we've got 3 in stock already. Let me update this one more time. And this is a way for me to like track downloads and make sure, yeah, it's weird. It says I've only got 3 in stock. Let me make sure I have updated the variations correctly. Part of the issue with doing everything yourself is, yep, wow, that was quick. All right, let me set this to 24 and update. And this should fix the problem. Let's see. Hopefully it does. Yeah, okay. So there's 24 in stock. I just don't want it to get like totally uncontrolled. You know, I want it to be controlled. But you have to do the checkout process. I'm not going to do just a download link. So yeah, let's go ahead and go back into Pro Tools. If you have more questions, like, we're going to test this out on a couple more things, and then I got to get my butt to work. Because I'm not a full-time plugin developer. I'm a full-time sound editor, re-recording mixer who develops stuff as basically a hobby at this point. So let's try it on some music. We're going to turn the reduction all the way down. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, you know, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And you know, I can always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So check it out. Okay, so that was some music. That was like some weird, I mean, you and I both know what kind of video that music would be in. And we don't need to say what it is, but so yeah, that kind of slow down tempo, you know, very mid 2000s Kazaa, you know, torrent type of background music for very specific types of videos. That it seemed to do okay with. There's a lot of high frequency stuff in there. There was like some filter sweeps and cymbals and you know, really annoying music that it got mostly out. But you know, there's still artifacts because I mean, it's freaking music. What are you gonna do for that? So yeah, House of Jen just sent you a sample that has safe dialogue. Let me zoop this over to. Oh, let's download this. Let's just put it on my desktop. This is an MP3, which is fine. Let's open, no, show and finder, and zoop. I'm just gonna slap it on here. Let's listen to it. Let's go 0%. I'm trusting you, House Agent. I'm not listening to this. I'm just trusting you. There's a laughing emoji, so please don't get my stream shut down.
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what?
So that was 0%. It sounds like there's a compressor going on. I heard a crow in the background. Now let's crank it up to 100%. Oh, is it going out? Yeah. It is going out, but maybe I found a bug here. Let's see.
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone. Hello? Hey, I thought you were...
Okay, this is good. I might have found a bug. It looks like...
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what?
It doesn't seem to like this noise. Maybe it won't work on this. Let's try it offline and see if it'll work. So we're going to set it to 100%. We might have found a type of noise that it doesn't reduce, which is good.
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed?
Yeah, so this has beat Voxium. It doesn't like this noise. So it is still working. Let's verify that it's still working by having it at 100%. And let's go ahead and we were on music. Let's try this creak sound and make sure the plugin's still working. Voxium is a real-time. Yeah, so this type of noise, interestingly enough, it does not reduce. I wonder if we increased the noise level, if it would. Let's try artificially increasing the noise level with a very slow process. Pretty useful for this. So we're going to turn the voice down like 16 dB, and the noise and reverb will keep it there. Let's see if increasing the threshold of the noise, basically increasing the noise level, making the audio slightly worse, makes it to where it works better. Let's start at 0. Yeah, you had me sweating. I was like, uh-oh, we got a plugin crash or something, but I think it's literally that the voicing of the noise or the level of it. But let's verify. So I've increased the noise level by basically reducing the dialogue to make it a lower quality recording. I've increased the resulting gain. So now let's see if it can reduce.
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what?
So that's exactly it. It was seeing the signal to noise ratio as being acceptable, and it wasn't reducing it. And that's something I need to put that on my to-do list. I don't know that I can fix this, but basically when the noise floor is acceptable, it won't do as much. You know, like it fits into that mantra of don't do too much. And so this is pretty, like the signal to noise, I'm looking at it here and it doesn't look that bad. Oh, you know what? I just put it back to normal and it might have learned the noise. So it might need more run up. That's the other thing.
Hello?
Let's try it with a little more run up. So this audio's back to the normal, what it was. I'm going to loop the head of it so that it has more time to adjust, because things that are voiced like this are going to require more learning time. And the other thing I noticed with Voxium is that if there's not very much dialogue, it's not going to reduce as much. So if you have just a lot of tone, which this has a lot of tone in it, it kind of looks at the balance between the dialogue and the noise, and it won't reduce the noise as much if it doesn't see dialogue. That way things like PFX and breaths don't get reduced. So let me loop this and see, and actually let's cut out some of let's like artificially compact this so they can learn more, because it learns the dialogue and the noise floor, and if there's not enough of either, it can't learn it. It's not AI, but it does use a neural net to learn things. So I've condensed the dialogue to where it's more talky, and we'll see if it can grab it now.
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what? Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what?
Okay, so you could hear, like, as the sound file opened up and got more spaced out, it wasn't able to separate as much. So that's an interesting kind of edge use case for spaced out dialogue And the other thing I noticed is that with less noise, it did less. Because this is, I would say, not a super, it's not a super noisy recording. And how I would approach this probably is I would use hum. And this goes into that, you know, this is not a panacea. Like, this is a very specific tool for, you know, broadband real-time or offline noise reduction. But like a tonal noise like this, I would probably use dehum first. And this goes into that whole, you use different tools sequentially to get more of the noise out. So dehum is going to specifically reduce.
Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what? Hello? Hey, I thought you were gone for the night. You about to go to bed? You are... what?
What I heard on that is that, you know, after using dehum, Voxium was able to much more quickly and accurately identify the noise. So this is a great thing to test. And House of Jen, I can't thank you enough for sending this in, because it shows me that you still need to deal with the noise on really difficult noises. You'd want to use the layered approach. And I even say that in the user manual, you know, to use multiple layers. So since this isn't specifically a tonal reduction, it's really meant for broadband noise. You get better results by starting with dehum and then moving on to Voxium. Let's listen to a creak. This is going to be like a medium stream recording. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, you know, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time. Okay, Simon is requesting to try it on rain. What kind of rain do you want, Simon? Do you want sideways rain, upside down rain? We could do it on thunder rain. It could be a light drizzle. Do you want rain on concrete? Notice I said concrete, not cement. Do you want it rain on a tin roof, which would be really difficult? We could do a shower. You know, all of us have had to mix those shower scenes where they only have one boom, you know, no lavs, and the person's talking in the shower, and then we tell them we got to ADR that. I don't want to ADR that. It's too intimate. You know, let me know what kind of water. We did a creek, which has pretty good broad, bit more grayish or brownish weighted noise, not super high frequency. But I'm trying to do common problems. So let me know what kind of water, and we're gonna listen to traffic. The most difficult. All right, I'll find a shower sound while we listen to this traffic example. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, you know, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And you know, I could always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So check it out. All right, that was a traffic demo. Does really well with traffic. Let's try some heavy rain on concrete. We'll just replace, right? Can I just replace this? Yeah, we'll replace this. This is, and let's have it loud. We haven't really broken it yet, so let's break it. And then I got to sign off. It's 9 o'clock. All right, this is heavy rain on concrete, and I'll just do the same thing, 0 to 100%. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, you know, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real. I'm just going to stop it before the end because this is really loud. To understand how loud it is, I'll put it back to 0. What I want to do after this is make it a little bit quieter, and see if, because there's some artifact, like it's starting to sound not great, you know, when we go to 100%. But at 50%, it's still, yeah, you like Simon is talking about here in the chat. You always try to leave some, and I'm a big proponent of natural backgrounds. There's a line though, right? Like it can be too loud, and especially when you are dealing with actors who don't project very well, or the scene just needs to be quieter. I tried to build this so that at 50%, it's still allowing the natural tone to come through. It's not like processing everything 100% and just reducing the noise. It's like letting some of the dry through so that you can get a natural result. Once you can hear the processing, it's too much. That's a big belief of mine. I'm turning this rain down about 4 dB. Then we're going to do the craziest test we can at the end, and then I'm going to sign off. So I've lowered the rain 4 dB. We're going to see if that helps separate it a little bit more. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline, especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength. Offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time, very transparent, and super easy to use. So to me, 50%, 60% I'm starting to hear the processing about, but 50% is transparent. It lowers the rain, about 50%, and that is enough. So now the last kind of let's really break this plugin is let's turn on all the noise. Let's turn it all on. We're going to need to lower all these. Let's see how many layers, and let's do the math on, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of noise. Let's lower them globally by, oh man, I'm not good at math. Let's try lowering them globally by, like, I guess 9 dB. Would that work? Somebody who's good at math, not me. Let me know if this will work. I'll play it. I'll play it just to make sure, because I don't want to clip. I don't want to clip things, but I want to really test this. All the broadband, even the music. Let me just see where we're at on the stream. Our levels. I'll leave this up. So our short-term noise level is about minus 30-ish. Let's just compare that to the dialogue available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it off. It's about minus 20. So we have a 10 decibel delta between the noise and the signal with all of these layers. And just to kind of summarize what layers we have an air conditioner, we have clothing noise, we have background, this is background wall, we have cicadas, we have crickets, we have this down-tempo Kazaa, Heather Brook type of music going on, we got heavy rain on concrete, and we got traffic. So all those combined, I'm going to play them, and then I'm going to slowly crank this up to 100%. We're trying to break this Voxium noise reduction. We got close with the file that House of Jen sent in, which showed us you still need to use the other tools. This isn't a, one plugin to rule them all. This is just a broadband, a really transparent real-time broadband reduction. But we're going to test it. We're going to test it on a combo of all 8 types of noise. Here we go. Voxium is a real-time, transparent dialogue noise reduction plugin. I've tested it in Pro Tools and Isotope and DaVinci Resolve. So there are Apple Silicon and Intel installers available on my website. It is meant for low-ish latency of about 20 milliseconds. So you can use it in real time. You can also use it offline. Especially if you have a little bit of an older CPU or a machine that doesn't have the best processor strength, offline processing, it's no slouch on that. If you have a modern CPU, like an M2 Ultra or M4, it's going to be useful either on the tracks or on a bus to transparently reduce noise in dialogue recordings. It doesn't reduce reverb, but it is low enough latency to run in real time. Very transparent and super easy to use. There's a free demo, so check out the link in the video. And, I could always use input on how well it works on your machine or how well it works compared to the other noise reduction tools on the market. So check it out. That's the video, guys. Or that's the stream, I guess. Not really a video. I am really excited about this plugin. I think it's going to do pretty well, but I need to hear from you guys. So please download the demo. It is Apple only for now. It is tested pretty well, I would say, with Apple processors, meaning the M series. I've had a handful of people try the Intel version. There's been a little bit of back and forth with a few people. I believe it's tied to the old original name, which is DX Clean, for, like if there's a permissions with the installer or something with duplicate versions. But generally, it's been a pretty smooth beta, and so I'm leaning towards like this is probably getting close to release. But feel free to download it for free. Try it out. Let me know what you think. Email me if there's any issues or go on Discord. There's links to all that stuff in the user manual for this plugin. So just click the link. Everything's there. But I think for a somewhat affordable broadband noise reduction, either real time or offline, I think this is going to be a really solid competitor to what's currently on the market, and probably a good, pepper to the salt on some of them. Like maybe this will do better on some sources than others. Obviously, the other tools are going to beat it in some instances. And all the comments and everything that you guys have had on the stream, I'm going to look into as much as I can. But again, this is something I'm doing in my free time solo. I'm not paying somebody on Fiverr to do this for me. Obviously, I have a lot of help with like codecs. I've been using codecs for troubleshooting and basically like scaffolding and stuff like that. But this plugin doesn't use AI. It's an ethically trained and ethically produced and non, AI, real-time kind of classic DSP with some machine learning aspects, real-time noise reduction and offline noise reduction, and it's really transparent. So check it out if you're interested. Let me know what you think. And I have a durability test video coming out on Thursday of this week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And as always, thank you so much, especially to channel members who've helped me test this, give me ideas. You guys have really been instrumental in not just this, but just my growth overall. So every video and stream, I want to make sure I thank channel members because, without you guys, I probably would not be doing this. So thank you guys. Let me know what you think. If you have ideas for videos and stuff you want me to focus on going forward, I'm going to do this week on Voxium. And then after that, I'll get back to your regularly scheduled, audio post training and I love user input for those type of videos. So let me know what you want to see. I'll do my best to, keep you guys happy. And till then, I guess, keep your ears open for overusing noise reduction tools. Even this one, you can push it too far. We heard that today. Don't do too much to your dialogue because it's really a precious thing to have these tracks that people are entrusting you to, clean up and mix. And just, a minute or two after I sign off, I'm going to jump right into dialogue cleanup on this vertical series. So I try to keep that in mind with everything that I do, like do no harm, respect the tracks, and just do what's necessary to help tell the story. So thank you guys so much for your time. I'll see you next time. Till then, take care.